liberty, prosperity, and a Canadian identity. I believe that Canada has been founded on its values: equality of opportunity, generosity, tolerance, and hard work. I intend to protect Canadian values. For more information with respect to my positions, please consult my website. Thank you, and I wish you all a...
Aujourd'hui, mes pensées vont avec les familles et les victimes des Polytechniques.
We join all those commemorating a sad event.
Victims of the Polytechnic today. I care about the safety of the average Canadian. My policy of legalizing mace and pepper spray for self-defense for all Canadians is particularly targeted towards women in this country. Dans notre pays, beaucoup trop de femmes sont victimes de violences physiques ou sexuelles.
Are victims of sexual assault. As a Prime Minister, I'm going to change the laws so that they
qualifying and clarifying the law around the use of mace and pepper spray for self-defense will give women a real opportunity, a measure of protection against would-be protectors. I haven't heard from the other candidates on this podium whether they oppose or they support this policy. I will do this when I'm Prime Minister of Canada. Today, I announced that as Prime Minister, I will support the construction of the Energy East pipeline. I began that advocacy for your pipeline today.
This is a piece of critical infrastructure to support middle-class Canadians here in New Brunswick and right across the country. The pipeline will make it possible to create jobs, to reduce our dependency on foreign oil, and to diversify our exports.
That violence and vandalism that stop natural resource development is completely unacceptable. Canadians want common sense policies. They want to be prosperous, and I'm going to deliver on that.
Madame Leitch.
Plus de gouvernement, plus des règles,
more government, more rules,
plus d'argent
more constraints, and more money to pay for all of that. Taxes on income, taxes on consumption, and now a tax on carbon.
We have an increased deficit, debt that's rising. The Liberal government is choking off private sector investment and killing jobs. We need to decrease the size of government. I plan to cap government spending so that we can reduce the size of government and let the private sector flourish. That's a common sense policy to make sure Canadians get back to work.
Thank you.
I have been involved in this party since 1979 when I was a volunteer in my first campaign in Fort McMurray. I love the party, I love its members.
And I love its members. And I can tell you, I've been listening to you every day. I've heard what you had to say, that you don't want a top-down operation from Ottawa telling you what to do. You want someone that represents you, that's been on the ground, that's hammered in lawn signs and delivered literature just like you have. I've done that, and I will be the leader that you can depend on to make sure you're supported and you can participate.
Thank you. Next, we'll move back to themes. This theme is family, children, and health. Nous allons ensuite passer au thème.
This theme now is family, children, and health. The provinces have different needs, but the federal government bases its transfer payments on the number of inhabitants, on population. Do you think we should keep the current model or change it, and if so, why?
You know, one approach is to privatize everything and eliminate government. That's the approach Maxime Bernier has to healthcare and everything else, to abolish government. As a
pediatric surgeon, I would take a different approach, an approach based on the patient and not on problems between the different levels of government.
The federal government has a significant role to play in healthcare, whether that be in the distribution of transfer payments or otherwise. But let's be clear. What we should be about, most importantly, you and your loved ones, you deserve to be taken care of. When you arrive at an emergency department, You deserve to get the care that you want.
Thank you. Ms. Leitch.
Je vais limiter les dépenses du
I
gouvernement.
want to restrict
secteur public
expenditures
doit
by the
être
government. The
produit.
public sector
Le
must
secteur
be
privé
productive.
doit grandir.
The private sector
Les gens
has to
aiment
grow.
compliquer
People
les choses.
like to
Ce n'est
complicate
pas
things,
compliqué.
and nothing's
Right now, under
complicated.
this Liberal government, due to debt and deficit, we're seeing more jobs lost, particularly here in Atlantic Canada. As was just mentioned, we need to create jobs. We need to build the Energy East pipeline to help create those jobs. Prosperity, as you know, is created in the private sector, not by the public sector. I'm capping government spending so we can reduce that size of government and make sure the private sector can flourish.
Thank you. Ms. Leitch.
Merci, Daryl. La première chose
Thank
que
you,
je vais
Daryl.
faire
The first
pour
thing I
augmenter
intend
la
to do
prospérité
to
et les
increase
emplois sera la
prosperity
limiter
and
des
jobs
dépenses du
would be
gouvernement.
to
C'est
limit
le
federal
temps de
spending.
renforcer
It is
la
time
tendance à
to
avoir un secteur public en croissance
to
et un
change the
secteur
approach
privé
in
en
order to
décroissance.
have a
La
growing
prospérité
public
se crée
and private
dans le
sectors.
secteur privé.
Most
C'est là
jobs are
que
created
les
in the
bons
private
emplois.
sector. That's
Et,
where we see good
par
jobs
exemple,
happening.
je vais
For
construire
example,
le pipeline
I would like to
Energy Est
build
pour les emplois.
Energy
Everything
East
we
in order
do
to create those
together
jobs.
as a nation is about building the prosperity for Canadians. It's in the private sector where we create jobs. It's in the private sector where we create opportunities for the average Canadian. We need to cap government spending so we decrease the size of government
Thank you.
and allow
Thank
Canadians
you,
to
Ms. Leitch. Monsieur Trost. Ms. Leitch.
I will engage young Canadians in beating Justin Trudeau in 2019. And we're going to use 3 tools: the best organization in the country, policies that engage the average Canadian that are common sense, and making sure we're communicating. We're talking about common sense ideas, whether that be screening immigrants for Canadian values with face-to-face interviews, capping government spending, or making sure women can use pepper spray and mace if they need to defend themselves. These common sense ideas are building a movement. I want to tell you, even if the media is against me, even if they're really negative, if we stand tall, if we stand strong, we actually can make sure individuals know our message. When volunteers hear our message, when they believe, we're even stronger. We're going to win in 2019, and that's how we get young people involved.
Thank you, Ms. Leitch.
Interviews for immigrants is not racist or xenophobic or anti-immigrant. In fact, 2/3 of Canadians want to have this discussion. Every country in the world is having this discussion. And just because the media and the elites don't want to have this discussion doesn't mean we should be afraid of it. Many of my colleagues on this stage I know are intimidated by the media, but I'm going to continue to talk about this because this is common sense. This is what Canadians want to talk about.